Hello, Thrivers. Today, I want to talk about how narcissistic parents teach their children to grow up to manipulate and be codependent. And I say that, and I'm hoping that this doesn't bring any shame or judgment, because if you had a parent that taught you to do that, that's not your fault. You were born into that. You had no say, very much like you had no say in the language that you were taught in infancy, right? If you were born here in the States, you learned English as a language, and there's no shame in that because that was the environment you were born in. If you were born in Spain, then your language was Spanish, okay? So there's no shame in the language that you were taught because you had no say in it. And it's the same thing with the love language that you were taught. If you were born into family dynamics where there was manipulation, or there was narcissistic abuse, which is normally accompanied by somebody that enabled and was codependent, and you saw those dynamics, that's not your fault. Like, you didn't choose to be taught those love dynamics. Okay, I'm trying to stress this so we can put shame aside so that we can figure out what to do about it. So that being said, let's dive in. For those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach. I specialize in overcoming childhood trauma, complex PTSD, and narcissistic abuse. I'm also the founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is a monthly membership where we meet live on Zoom every week, and we work through the side effects of narcissistic abuse, complex PTSD, and childhood trauma together. Enrollment is currently closed, but the doors will open February 1st to the 5th. And there are 9 to 12 live meetings where we meet together, and the cost is $79.99 a month. So if you're interested in something like that, make sure you watch during that first week of February so you can join while the doors are open. Okay, so let's talk about the manipulation and the codependency that narcissistic parents teach, okay? Because even if you had no choice in the language you were taught in childhood, and in this case, we're talking about the love language, you can choose now. You can break out of those dynamics. And if you want happy relationships, you have to break out of those dynamics, okay? So when you have a narcissistic parent, basically, they teach you that they are the sun, the moon, and the stars, and your job is to revolve around them. And in order to revolve around them, you are taught, trained, and conditioned to sacrifice your authentic self. Okay, so if in childhood you like something and you're happy and you're enjoying something, a narcissistic parent views that as an attack on them. Like, they have to be the source of everything. And also, if you can be happy and feel something that they inside cannot feel, that's a threat to them. And so they're always balancing, emotionally balancing or regulating themselves with their family members. So when you're happy, the narcissist takes that as an attack and they feel down here. So they do something so that you feel miserable, and now it's like they soaked up that and they're able to feel better. What a child will learn is, my desires bring about danger, and things that I like cause problems, or they internalize the criticism. Like, if I do something for myself, I'm selfish, I'm bad. And they grow up with a nervous system that teaches them to not do those things, right? To not be authentic, because anytime they were authentic and an individual and separate from the narcissist, they were punished. So they have all of these beliefs and all of these paired associations that they are conditioned to live in. Okay, again, some examples are, being happy is dangerous. Something bad is going to happen. There's something wrong with me because when I am me, I'm rejected. So I have to find how I'm supposed to be. I have to figure out what's good, what's bad. And I determine that by the reaction of the narcissist. If I do something and they're happy, that means that's good. And when you grow up living like that, The things that make the narcissist happy are things that are unhealthy for you. The narcissist is happy when you sacrifice yourself for them. The narcissist is happy when you use a specific tone of voice, specific behaviors. You have to act in this weird, molded kind of way in order to make them happy. But that's sacrificing you. So anyone that's trained that way thinks that that's normal. When you don't understand these dynamics, you think that that's normal. Just like when I went to school in kindergarten, I spoke English because that was normal. That's what I was taught growing up. Well, we enter relationships thinking that these things are normal. Or if we don't think that they're normal, we tend to think there's something wrong with us. And we try to kind of shape shift to find, what's supposed to be the right way to be. And what this creates, and this is hard to admit, and I say that because there was a time where this was a pill that I had to swallow, but I had to realize that shape-shifting was a form of manipulation. I wasn't doing it to be a bad person. I wasn't doing it to hurt anybody. I was doing it to try to make other people happy so that in turn they could like me. It was the people pleasing, but it was a form of manipulation, right? And it wasn't a manipulation that you do because you want to manipulate. It was a manipulation that you were taught in childhood, that you were supposed to do to try to gain the favor and the acceptance and the approval of an emotionally unavailable parent. Okay, so that causes a manipulation where you're trying to please other people by sacrificing self. You're not being authentic. I wasn't being authentic. And it's hard to kind of look back and own that, but it's reality. And in order to move forward, we have to own where we've been so that we can change it. If it's not in our conscious awareness, we can't do a single thing about it. Okay. So you're taught that you're supposed to find the secret formula to make other people happy instead of just being yourself, right? And the reason I'm bringing this to light is because if we don't realize we do this, we will tend to create the same dynamics as in childhood. So if you are shape-shifting, sacrificing self, not showing up as your authentic self, and doing everything to make the other person happy, what you will attract is somebody that wants you to sacrifice self to make them happy, which is another malignant narcissist. Healthy people don't want you to show up and sacrifice self for them. Okay, we might think, oh, but look, I'm so nice. I let you do whatever you want all the time. I never say what I really want. I let it always be your choice. We think that's nice. But what it is inauthentic. Okay. And again, this is a hard pill to swallow if you're in it at the moment. And I get it, because when I first heard it, I rejected the idea. I was like, no, that's, I can't even assimilate that in my brain. But the good news is we can start changing it. We can start upgrading and learning a new language, learning a new way to be in relationships. Healthy people want you to be able to say no, even if they're disappointed, because you're being real, you're respecting yourself. And when you can respect yourself, they can respect you too, right? So in order to change the kinds of relationships you're in, it's about breaking out of the patterns that you were taught to be in. And that's easier said than done. Because when you go to stop shape shifting, and when you go to start putting down boundaries and saying no, your body freaks out, because our body has an alarm system. Our limbic network, our fight or flight, it's all designed to keep us safe. And if in childhood, those behaviors were not safe, they are memorized in your nervous system, in your subconscious beliefs, in your programs, and that when you start operating outside of those beliefs and those programs, the alarm bells in your body go off and you'll experience a panic attack. You'll experience intense fear that doesn't make sense. It feels like your survival is on the line, even though you're an adult. But it's because the ways that you were taught to stay in these patterns in childhood are interlocked with your body's or your brain's survival mechanism and in your subconscious mind. And those things are challenging to overcome. It's not impossible. I just say challenging because you have to be willing to recognize that it comes with discomfort at first, because your body is trying to tell you to not change. And it's not that your body is the enemy. It's because it was a coping skill in childhood to sacrifice self, to not be authentic, to do, say, be, think, or feel whatever the narcissistic parent wanted. It was a coping skill that kept you safe. And so even though you're an adult now, your coping skills don't say, oh yeah, she's outgrown that, she can do that now. No, they don't grow just because you physically grow. In adulthood, we have to go in and take the time to upgrade those beliefs, to calm the nervous system so it doesn't keep making those same paired associations, to learn how to give ourselves permission to be our authentic self. Okay, and that's necessary if you want to have a healthy relationship. Otherwise, you tend to just keep attracting the same kind of person or worse. So maybe in your adult life, you were with an overt narcissist and now you learned about that. So you know what to look for. And suddenly you think you're in a healthy relationship and you realize you're now with a covert narcissist. You learn about that. Then you find yourself with a vulnerable narcissist. Then you find yourself with a psychopath or a sociopath. So it gets worse until you go within and start doing the inner work to work through that so that you can change your relationships. If this resonates with you and you find that you've been learning about this for a long time, but you can't seem to break out of certain patterns, please check out the Thriver School of Transformation. Doors open February 1st to the 5th because we are going to look at how we can change our relationship with ourselves in February and how that affects the current relationships that we have. You don't have to do it alone. And the weekly assistance is so important because you're working through subconscious programs. And our subconscious changes through repetition plus emotion. It's not something we learn once and then we can change. It's that consistency that's helpful. We meet Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And all the meetings are different. We do cognitive learning, we do rewiring, we do exercises together. We also have EFT sessions and breathwork sessions to remove trauma from the body. So if you're ready and you need that weekly assistance, again, it's $79.99. Doors open only from February 1st to the 5th. So be watching for those links during the first week of February.